With around 450,000 people in Ireland currently suffering from depression, there has been a struggle to provide adequate support for everybody affected. Graffiti artist Stephen Considine learned this firsthand through his own battle with mental health. Stephen used his experience, along with his love for art, to set up a brand which raises funds for those who are currently struggling.
My name's Stephen Considine. I work as a graphic designer and a graffiti artist, and I run a clothing company called My Polar Bear Wear, which is a clothing brand that raises mental health awareness and funds for mental health services in Ireland. And it's more of a collective or a community of artists that I know that create the clothes and do all the dog work when it comes to mental health awareness. I had a very long route into art. I have ADHD, so when I was in school I wasn't I done art in first year, but I wasn't allowed to continue because it was pretty bold. There was nothing evil, it was just a bit disruptive. And so then when I got into sixth year, I applied for commerce and started studying commerce, but I was always drawing, so I couldn't do art, and I was always doing graffiti. And when I went to commerce then, I just kept doing graffiti, dropped out of that and I done like a fine art course, and then went straight into second year of NCAD. So it took a long way to get back around to where I wanted to be, but and I was really lost without the art, because I knew it was something I should have been doing, but I was pursuing all these different values of success that were imposed on me from media or my parents or whatever. So I'm glad I stuck to my guns. I get real sad if I'm not creating anything. And it took me a long time to realise that. And when I say creating, it doesn't mean I have to paint a wall or do a canvas or whatever. It's just, it can be anything. It can be words. It can be writing. It can be music. Whatever it is, I just have to have an outlet to express myself. And if I don't. And I feel that if I don't express myself within a week, I'll start feeling a bit weird. And not that anyone sees the things I make. I would only put out 5% of the things I make, but the 95% are all pretty much therapeutic, more so than anything.
Another man who used his own experience with mental health issues to help others is Niall Canavan. After suffering from depression in his teens, Nyle went on to get a degree in psychology. He is now a volunteer for Samaritans and will be pursuing his master's this coming year.
I kind of had my own previous kind of history of mental health, and then people around me, like everybody does really. But then kind of when you start studying it and you kind of understand things kind of better, kind of it's like a itch you kind of need to keep on scratching, and it keeps going and going and going. And I kind of fell in love with it after my second and third year. I kind of decided that I wanted to keep on going and actually make a career. But in that time I kind of wanted to go and see, I guess, the world, so I kind of started volunteering for other organisations outside of it. So we kind of set up our own emotional support campaign in university, due to a couple of student suicides as well, a professor suicide as well, that happened in university that year. And through that I got to meet other people in organisations, from Police Talk, who I think are defunct now, Childline and Samaritans, and that's kind of, I guess, my first kind of, I used a similar organisation before, but Samaritans itself, I kind of didn't really know about the organisation itself. So when I applied for it about 2 or 3 years later, I got rejected a couple of times because of my age, and then I was able to join it at the age of 25. And since then I've been kind of working my way through it and working my way up the ladder. So the past 2 or 3 years now I've been taking calls or answering texts and emails, and a couple of face-to-faces where people actually come into the branch from the streets and we just sit down and have a conversation. The main point of Samaritans is effectively it's like someone's brain is in a mess, if that makes sense. So they have all these thoughts and they're kind of flying all over the place, and it's kind of my job to just bring it kind of closer together so it's more of a solid piece, if that makes sense, and you can look at it and you can kind of work it out. because 90% of my calls are people venting on the phone, and they're just like screaming, and they don't really know what's going on, or they're just very confused about the situation that they're in, and they don't really know how to kind of express that verbally. It's inside, but when it actually kind of comes to like verbalizing what their thoughts are, it kind of just becomes like a jumbled mess. So like any calls I take, like I will take calls that don't really make any sense, but they're not supposed to make sense, you know. If you got 10 or 15 things going on in your brain, you don't really know how to, like, I need to hit on every single of these issues. So like, you know, like you do kind of have to, my job would then be kind of like taking one sentence from a paragraph and then taking another sentence and kind of bring them together. Again, you kind of like, you're just victim of your time, and everyone is always going to be that, but kind of when you're at a position at the age of like 15 and 18, when I was going through depression, that you kind of have to find out your own way of getting around, and there was no real advice of like how you actually get to counsellors or anything like that, or what further steps I need to take, or who I need to talk to actually sort the situation out. I kind of like, it is a lot better, but it's still a huge issue. As I said, we're lower suicide rates in the last 20 years. I think it's about 380 people committed suicide last year in Ireland. It's still 80% men and 20% women. So like, why is it 80% men? Why are we still getting at that level? I do kind of think that if we were better educated on it, you'd have a lot lower numbers, and you'd have, especially in my situation where I didn't have to get so far until I recognized that there was a problem. So like, back then I didn't really know, but like, did I feel supported looking back then? Probably not, other than my close family and friends and people who were looking out for me, and people who were actually be able to make calls for me that made a difference. But I just kind of think that we've been very, very late in the game when it comes to mental health, and that a conversation that should have started 60 years ago only happened the last 15 years really. So we're really behind. But I think for a kid now, I think it's, don't get me wrong, there's still a huge issue, but I think that the more doors are open for stuff like this, the more youth clubs and boxing clubs and art schools and theatre groups and all this kind of stuff, that does make a huge difference. Because you need an outlet, and when you don't have that outlet, then if you're just in your head constantly, then it is always going to keep on going down, and you need distractions. So for me personally, when I just didn't have those distractions, that's when it kind of hits you the worst. So I think if I was going through now, if I was 15 or 18 now, I probably would be in a better position than what I was, but that doesn't mean it's good. You know, there still needs to be more effort, and there still needs to be an education or a support system that's there, that looks after kids, or looks after university students, anything like that, rural people, as I was saying. So yeah, but you know, that takes time, and you can't implement it in a week or anything like that. So like, in the next 10-15 years, I think it's going to be a lot better than what we're even going through now. So I think there is reasons to be positive. It's just so annoying that it's not yeah, you know, right now, that we just can't turn off the fridge and everything's better, but at least we're working towards it.